My girlfriend bragged live. My wallet boyfriend pays for everything. It's hilarious. Unaware I was watching. I commented, break up. Then I canceled her credit cards, cut her phone line, and took back my car that she drives. A week later, she is crying live on social media. I, 28 male, am a pretty simple guy. I work in software development, I make a comfortable living, and I don't ask for much. For the last 2 years, I thought I had everything I wanted with my girlfriend. Jessica, 26. She was vibrant, funny, and the center of any room she walked into. I loved that about her. Because my financial situation is stable, I never had a problem sharing. I paid the rent on my apartment that we shared. I put her on my family phone plan to save her money. I got her a supplementary credit card for groceries and emergencies, which slowly morphed into her daily coffee, lunches with friends, and shopping trips. I even bought a car last year. A reliable, sensible sedan, and since I work from home, I let her use it as her daily driver. I did it because I loved her. I thought we were building a future together. It never felt like a transaction to me. It just felt like being a partner. Last Tuesday I was wrapping up some code around 8 p.m. I got a notification on my phone. Jessica is live on Instagram. I smiled. I like seeing her updates. I clicked on it, put my headphones on, and leaned back in my chair. She was in her friend Sarah's apartment, a bottle of rosé on the table between them. They were laughing. Seriously, he doesn't even check the statements, Jessica was saying, taking a sip of wine. Sarah leaned in, grinning. No way. So that new purse? Jessica giggled and held up a new, expensive-looking leather bag. He hasn't said a word. He probably just thinks it was for groceries. My wallet boyfriend pays for everything. It's hilarious. Sarah howled with laughter. Wallet boyfriend, that is brutal. You have him so whipped. I know, right? Jessica's voice was dripping with a kind of smug condescension I had never heard before. Last week I told him I needed new tires for the car. The ones on it were fine, but I wanted the higher-end ones. He just went, okay honey, whatever you need for your safety. I almost burst out laughing. He's so easy. My smile was gone. My entire body went cold. It wasn't anger, not at first. It was a profound, hollow shock, like I'd been punched in the gut. I listened for another minute as they cackled about how clueless and compliant I was. Every word was a confirmation. This wasn't a partnership to her. It was a long con. I was a mark. My fingers moved before my brain fully caught up. I was still watching her laughing face on my screen as I typed a comment into the live chat. My username popped up in the stream of hearts and comments. Quiet logic. Break up. I saw her face freeze. Her eyes widened as she read the name, then the comment. The color drained from her cheeks. Sarah looked over, her own smile vanishing. Jessica fumbled with her phone, her expression a mix of panic and fury. The live feed ended abruptly. I sat there in the silence of my apartment for a full 5 minutes. The hurt was immense, a real physical ache in my chest. But underneath it, something else was crystallizing. A cold, quiet clarity. There was no screaming match to be had. No tearful confrontation. She had shown me exactly who she was. The only thing left to do was to believe her. So, I got to work. Methodically. Credit card. I logged into my banking portal, found her supplementary card, clicked deactivate card. A pop-up asked for a reason. I typed no longer authorized user. It was done in less than 30 seconds. Phone. This was a two-step process. First, the immediate fix. I logged into my mobile carrier account and reported her SIM card as lost. This would suspend service to her line within the hour. It was a temporary measure, but effective. The permanent solution could wait until morning. Car. The car is registered and insured entirely in my name. The loan is in my name. I have a spare key in my desk drawer. I knew she was at Sarah's for the night, and I know Jessica always parks in the visitor section of Sarah's apartment complex because it's closest to the entrance. I walked out of my apartment, got into my building's garage, and drove my own second car, the one I barely used, to Sarah's neighborhood. My hands were shaking slightly as I pulled into a spot on the street. Every passing headlight made my heart jump. I found the sedan right where I expected. I used the spare, fumbling for a second before the lock clicked open. I got in, started it, and drove it away without looking back. I parked it in a secure, private garage a few miles from my place that I pay for monthly. Then I took a rideshare home, the entire trip feeling surreal. I got back to my apartment. I went into our bedroom and packed all of her things. Clothes, makeup, shoes, everything. I folded it all neatly and put it in the expensive luggage she'd bought with my card. I took her apartment key from her purse, which she'd left on the dresser, and put it on my desk. I left all her packed bags stacked neatly by the front door. Now I'm just sitting here. It's 2 a.m. She's been calling me non-stop from Sarah's phone. I haven't answered. I've received 47 text messages. They started angry. What is wrong with you? Then confused. Did you see my live? It was a joke. And are now bordering on hysterical. My card just got declined for the Uber home. My phone isn't working. Where is the car? I feel empty, but also resolute. This wasn't a decision made in anger. It was a conclusion based on irrefutable data. I know the storm is coming, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm in control of my own life. Update 1. Hey everyone. I wanted to thank you for the overwhelming support on my last post. Reading your comments helped me stay strong through what has been a very, very long 72 hours. A lot of you asked for an update, so here it is. The entitlement I saw on that live stream was just the tip of the iceberg. The morning after what I'm now calling the Great Dewalling, Jessica showed up at my apartment. She must have gotten Sarah to drive her. I was home, waiting. The buzzer rang, and I let her come up, wanting to have this conversation face to face. When I opened the door, I stood there blocking the entrance. She looked terrible. Her eyes were puffy and red, and she was wearing the same clothes from the night before. Sarah was behind her, looking nervous. Thomas, what the hell is going on? She started, her voice high and strained. My phone doesn't work. My card was declined, and the car is gone. I had to call the police and file a report. You can cancel that report, Jessica, I said, my voice as even as I could make it. I took the car. It's my car. And I suspended your phone line. It's my account. What do you mean you took the car? She shot back, her voice rising. I need it. How am I supposed to get to my yoga class or to see my friends? Notice she didn't ask about us. She didn't apologize. It was a frantic inventory of her lost services. Those are no longer my problems to solve, I said calmly. I saw your live stream. That's when the tears started. But they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears. Oh my God, Thomas, it was a joke. Sarah and I were just messing around. You know I don't mean that stuff. You're gonna throw away 2 years over a stupid joke? It wasn't a joke to me, I replied. It was the truth, wasn't it? You called me your wallet boyfriend. You laughed about manipulating me. I just decided to believe you. I pointed to the luggage stacked by the door. All your things are packed. Her face went from theatrical crying to pure unfiltered rage. You are not doing this. You can't just kick me out. I live here. You lived here with me in a relationship, I corrected her. The relationship is over. As you aren't on the lease, you are technically a guest. However, to do this properly, I'm giving you 30 days to find a new place. I've already emailed you the official notice to vacate. After that, I'm changing the locks. That afternoon, after Sarah had left, the dirty tricks started. Jessica's friend launched a smear campaign. Vague posts on her social media, men who use money to control you, and watching out for financial abuse. Later that night, Jessica tried a different tactic. She knocked on my bedroom door. I opened it, and she was standing there in one of my shirts, her eyes wet with fresh tears. She tried to apologize, to kiss me, to tell me she'd do anything to make it up to me. For a split second, I felt that old pull, a brief moment of emotional vulnerability. But then I pictured her face on that live stream, laughing with Sarah. The image was burned into my mind. It's not gonna work, Jessica, I said, stepping back. I've moved your things into the guest room. You can stay there for your 30 days, but we are not getting back together. This is a landlord-tenant situation now. That's it. She completely lost it. Screaming, crying, throwing a pillow at the wall. She accused me of being a cold, heartless machine. She said I never loved her at all. It was pure emotional warfare. I just stood there and took it. When she was done, I said, I expect you to conduct yourself like an adult for the remainder of your time here. The look on her face was something I'll never forget. She's still here, but she hasn't spoken to me since. The countdown has begun. 28 days left. Update 2. The last 2 weeks have felt like a hostage situation in my own home. Jessica's presence is a constant, oppressive weight. She alternates between stony silence and petty antagonism, but the entitlement has now escalated. She called in reinforcements, her parents. I got a call on Saturday from an unknown number. I answered, and a booming voice introduced himself as Richard, Jessica's father. Her mother, Susan, was on the line too. I've met them a handful of times. They always seemed pleasant enough, in a superficial way. I now see where Jessica gets it from. Thomas, Richard here, he started. No pleasantries. Susan and I are very concerned about what Jessica has told us. She's beside herself. We think you're being incredibly rash about this. With all due respect, Richard, this is between Jessica and me, I said. Susan jumped in, her voice dripping with fake concern. But it's not, is it? You've cut her off completely. A young woman in her position, you can't just pull the rug out from under her like that. She depends on that car. She's built a life around the stability you provide. The stability I provided, I corrected her. When that stability was based on a lie, I'm no longer obligated to provide it. Then came the threat. Look, son, Richard said, his voice hardening. I know your boss. We play golf at the same club. It would be a real shame if word got around that you're the kind of guy who financially strangles his girlfriend and then throws her out on the street. A little video? Don't be ridiculous. Reputations are fragile things, and people will believe the story I tell them to believe. This is when my quiet, methodical plan kicked into a new gear. I had anticipated something like this. Richard, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I have a screen recording of Jessica's 12-minute Instagram live. I understand you think your reputation can withstand it, but can Sarah's? Or your sister's in the next state over? I won't post it publicly. That's messy. Instead, if I get so much as a nasty email from you, Jessica, or anyone else, I will personally email that video file to every member on your country club's newsletter distribution list. I'll send it to your wife's charity board. I'll forward it to your family members. It won't be a public scandal. It will be a series of private, deeply embarrassing conversations you'll have to have for weeks. They'll know exactly what their daughter said and did. It's not a threat. It's my new communication strategy. Are we clear? There was dead silence on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing. He wasn't calculating risk anymore. He was experiencing the full weight of a humiliation campaign he could not control. Susan finally stammered, "Well, there's no need for that kind of talk." "I agree," I said, and hung up the phone. The fallout was immediate. Jessica came out of the guest room, her face pale. "My dad just called me. What did you say to them?" "I made them aware of the full consequences of their actions," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "Just like I'm making you aware of yours." The smear campaign from Sarah has stopped. I haven't heard a peep from the parents. But Jessica is still here. Her 30 days are halfway up. She spends most of her time in the guest room, and I hear her on the phone constantly, trying to figure out her next move. The atmosphere is thick with resentment. It's exhausting, but every day she's here, it reinforces that I made the right decision. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming my peace. 15 days to go. Final update. It's over. I'm writing this from my couch in a completely silent apartment. The silence is the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. The final 2 weeks were a masterclass in passive aggression. Jessica would accidentally leave the freezer door open. She'd forget to flush the toilet. Small, petty acts of defiance designed to get a reaction out of me. I gave her none. I just documented it, cleaned it up, and continued my countdown. The day her 30-day notice was up, I had everything in place. I had a feeling she wouldn't leave willingly. I was right. I knocked on the guest room door at 9 a.m. "Jessica, it's time. The notice period is over." Her response was muffled, but clear. "Go away. I'm not leaving." "I thought you might say that," I said through the door. "I've arranged for a civil standby. 2 police officers will be here in 1 hour. Their job is not to force you out. It's simply to keep the peace while you retrieve your belongings. If you are still here when they arrive, they will be official witnesses to your failure to vacate the property. With their report, I will be at the courthouse tomorrow morning filing for a formal eviction, which will go on your permanent record and make renting anywhere decent nearly impossible for years. The choice is yours. Leave today with your dignity, or leave in a few weeks with a court order." I wasn't bluffing. This was the final, logical step. The real threat wasn't the police. It was the permanent, bureaucratic consequence of her own stubbornness. That got her moving. When the officers arrived, she was frantically trying to pack the last of her things. Her parents, Richard and Susan, were there too, parked outside. They didn't dare come in, but they were watching. The final confrontation was pathetic. Jessica, dragging her suitcases to the door, finally turned to me, her face a mess of tears and makeup. "I can't believe you're doing this," she sobbed. "I loved you. I still love you." "No, you didn't," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "You loved my wallet, and the wallet is closed for business." Her parents hustled her into their car, shooting me looks that could kill. I just gave a polite nod to the officers, thanked them for their time, and closed my door. I leaned against it, took a deep breath, and then immediately called a locksmith. And then, just as the title of my original post predicted, the grand finale. About an hour ago, a friend sent me a link. Jessica was live on social media again. This time, there was no rosé, no laughter. She was in what was clearly her childhood bedroom at her parents' house, crying her eyes out. She spun a masterful tale of woe. How she gave 2 years of her life to a man who turned out to be a cold, controlling monster. How he threw her out over a misunderstanding and left her with nothing. She was a victim, a martyr. The comments were flooding in with sympathy. "You're better off without him. What a monster. Stay strong, Queen." I watched for about 5 minutes. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just closure. I opened my laptop. I found the video file of her first live stream. I didn't post it on her wall. I didn't make a big public spectacle. That's not my style. Instead, I went through the list of mutual friends who were commenting on her pity party. One by one, I sent them a private message. It was the same for each one. Subject, for context. Attached was the video file. No other explanation. The tide turned within minutes. The sympathetic comments on her stream slowed, then stopped. A few were quietly deleted. I got a flurry of messages back. "OMG, Thomas, I had no idea. Wow. Just, wow, I'm so sorry. She's at her parents' place telling a completely different story. This is insane." The truth didn't need a bullhorn, it just needed to be seen. Her credibility was shot, not by my accusations, but by her own words. So here I am. The apartment is clean, the locks are changed, her number is blocked. My life is my own again. It was a brutal, exhausting month. I had to become colder and more methodical than I ever thought possible. But I don't see it as revenge. I see it as a necessary amputation. I had a sickness in my life, an infection of entitlement and deceit. I cut it out. It hurt, and there's a scar. But I know I'm going to heal. For anyone going through something similar, trust your gut. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And remember that the most effective response isn't always the loudest one. Sometimes it's just quiet, decisive logic.